next up, we want to continue to bring you some of the day's biggest top stories and headlines. One of them coming from the White House today, President Trump announcing a TikTok deal. Fox News with the very latest on this one. Let's listen in.
TikTok will stay alive in the U.S. President Trump signing an executive order Thursday approving the sale of the wildly popular social media app to an American ownership group.
We have American investors taking it over, running it, highly sophisticated, including Larry Ellison. And Oracle, I guess, is going to play a very big role in terms of security, safety, and everything else.
The deal is valued at around $14 billion. Current Chinese parent company ByteDance will maintain around a 20% stake. TikTok debuted in the U.S. back in 2017, but really exploded in popularity during the pandemic, accumulating more than 100 million monthly active users, in large part thanks to its addictive algorithm that learns what users like.
That's able to detect the kinds of content that people want to see. Buying TikTok without the algorithm would be like buying a Ferrari without the engine.
But U.S. officials viewed its influence as a national security threat, with China potentially controlling what kind of content Americans would see.
We don't want this used as a propaganda tool by any foreign government.
According to a new Pew Research report, around 43% of Americans under the age of 30 say they regularly get news from TikTok. That's the highest number for that age group of any social media platform. Despite the announcement, it may take some more time for the deal to go through as both sides hammer out the fine print. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
All right, Kevin, let's continue to talk about it right now. I want to introduce our next guest to help break it all down. This is Glenn Gerstell, former NSA General Counsel. Thanks so much for joining us here this evening. And Glenn, tell us from a standpoint of having more confidence security-wise, what does this deal mean for the security nature for TikTok here in America?
Well, it's a promising step to avoiding a ban. That's the sword of Damocles that had been hanging over TikTok for almost 2 years now, ever since Congress passed a statute saying that ByteDance, the Chinese corporate parent, had to divest and put the app in American hands or else it would be banned. So that's a step in the right direction. President Trump had to sort of accomplish, I think, 4 things here to get a deal across the finish line, so to speak. And by the way, we're not across the finish line yet, but 1 is a political thing and 3 were statutory. Very quickly, on the political side, whatever he's going to come up with, and his commercial investors were going to come up with, who were investing in TikTok and the American app, had to do a better deal than President Biden was talking about 2 years ago, when he had a deal that was on the table but never signed, in which ByteDance would continue to own the app, but there'd be a lot of American control. So this is a step that he'd have to do something better, and it looks like he's got past that hurdle. This is clearly moving the entire TikTok USA into U.S. hands. So ByteDance doesn't own or control it. The next 3 are real quickly. 1, they had to make sure that China doesn't control the thing in a legal sense, and now it looks like American investors will own about 80% of it. Secondly, they had to make sure that the user data, was in American hands and couldn't be siphoned off and sent back to Beijing for nefarious purposes. Sounds like that's doable and possible, not complete yet. And the third is the most problematic, and that's the one we don't really know enough about. And that's the requirement of the statute that says that algorithm, which we just heard about, the secret sauce of TikTok, has to be in Americans' hands, and there can't be any, in the magic words of the statute, operational relationship between that algorithm and China. And right now, we don't know about that for sure. It sounds like there's some license agreement or a lease, very unclear. We don't even have the terms of the executive order that the president signed today. So there are still some questions on the table.
Yeah, no doubt that the algorithm is really the golden chest of this, and really the whole brain of the operation when it comes to TikTok. Just talking about the level of which people continue to go back to it. It's because of that algorithm where it continues that feed for them. Glenn, so what are the next steps here that we will be seeing in this process lay out here for TikTok in the U.S., controlled by some U.S. interest businesses?
So again, it sounds like this is promising. I personally was never in favor of a ban of a social media app, so I'm happy that there seems to be a resolution coming here. But again, as I said, the devil's going to be in the details. This is a terribly complicated transaction, both financially with numerous investors involved, as well as operationally. How, for example, will the algorithm be updated? Because the algorithm is still going to, the ultimate algorithm, the parent, so to speak, is still going to be controlled by ByteDance in China, even if there's a separate U.S. version of it. When there are updates, how do they get integrated? How will U.S. viewers of TikTok be able to see foreign TikToks? How will foreign users, which ByteDance will still continue to own TikTok overseas, how will they get access to U.S. viewers? All that's not clear. So, as I said, this is a complex transaction. This is going to take several weeks, I assume, to get done. Vice President Vance today said that the deal was valued at about $14 billion, but he also said, well, we're still in the process of allocating shares. So it sounds like they haven't even agreed on the final numbers. I think at the end of the day, this will probably get done. President Trump wouldn't sign an executive order unless he thought he was pretty confident of getting across the finish line. But the fact remains, we're not there yet.
Yeah, that's so true, and such a good insight right there, Glenn. I want to show our viewers just a little bit of President Trump speaking from the Oval Office today on that, and then we'll get some more reaction.
Preserve TikTok as a platform for the 170 million Americans who use it, while ensuring that their data is properly protected as required by law. With this executive order, you will be effectively bringing into effect the agreement that will save TikTok and ensure that it can operate safely and securely.
So this is interesting because this is going to be American operated all the way, and great respect for President Xi, and I very much appreciate that he approved the deal, because to get it done properly, we really needed the support of China and the approval of China. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President.
We don't want this used as a propaganda tool by any foreign government. We want to make sure that our people and our investors actually make these decisions based on what's good for their business, as opposed to what's good for another government's propaganda arm. So that's what we've done with this deal. I think it's very good for the American people. And as the president said, young people love this. We actually want everybody to access this, whether they're MAGA or not. We just want it to be fair. We want it to be fair to everybody, and we think that's what's going to happen with this new arrangement.
Glenn, I want to ask you, when is the last time, or has there ever been a time where a foreign company comes in, we have here in the U.S., and we say, you know what, if you want to continue that, that's great, but we need to have a lot of U.S. interest in here. We want businesses to have equity. Has that ever happened before?
Sure. There's lots of precedent for making sure that foreign investment in the United States is handled in a way that is consistent with our national security. So there's a whole process where a foreign party wants to come in and buy an industry that is in a sensitive area. It has to go through something called the CFIUS process, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S., which approves the foreign investment if it's in a sensitive area. One good example of where a ban might make sense, and I think did make sense, is in the case of Huawei telecom equipment. Huawei is a Chinese telecom manufacturer, ultimately controlled by the PRC government of the Chinese Communist Party. The several administrations, both Republican and Democrat, were concerned that having Huawei equipment inside American telecom systems was a national security risk because China could siphon away that information. And when I was at the National Security Agency, I certainly saw China's capabilities in that regard. And at the end of the day, the FCC said, sorry, you're going to have to rip out Huawei equipment. A statute was passed to that effect, and that equipment is effectively banned in the United States. So we have precedent for doing that, not for a social media app. That would be the first time if that actually ever happened. But the broader question, which we don't have time to talk about, but just to raise very quickly, is, we're in love with Chinese technology. It's cheap, it's effective, it's efficient. All the garage door openers, or most of them, are probably made by Chinese companies, video cameras, doorbells, you name it. We love that Internet of Things technology, but it does raise surveillance risks. It does raise data use risks, and we haven't really, as a society, come to grips with that.
Yeah, that's a great way to end it there. And Glenn, we really appreciate you joining us on Live Now from Fox. It's still early in the process right now, but we appreciate you coming on and giving us your insight.